So I don't know about you, but when I saw the news last week about the Haitian migrants in Del Rio, Texas, I know that I wanted to do at least two things. Number one, I definitely was going to do an episode on it. And number two, I didn't only want to discuss what's happening in Del Rio, Texas. The fact of the matter is, Haiti has been going through a lot as a country this past year with the earthquake further decimating substantial parts of the country, the civil unrest that's been happening, the prime minister being assassinated. But they've been going through a lot for way longer than that. And it makes it sick to watch. But here's the thing about headlines and images. It starts to create stereotypes and beliefs. And if it's not corrected, they can fly forever. And for watching what I was watching last week, I just got tired of seeing another negative image being set upon Haiti. As a black man and as a Caribbean representative, and while I wanted to get my reactions off my chest, I also wanted to remove some of the negative imaging this country has to endure. So today on the Ave Podcast, I'm joined by Dianna Nicholas from the Food with Burger Divas show, as well as the founder of the Carolina Haitian Food Festival. And I'm also joined by author Jonathan Boxill as we share our reactions of Del Rio, but also have a discussion on shredding the misconceptions of Haiti overall. Their history is rich, and much like other West Indian countries, it needs to be shared. Probably more so based on everything that's happened 217 years ago, which is 1804. I'm saving you on the math. Thanks for tuning in advance. South Sharav is available wherever you listen to podcasts. Hit the like button, the favorite button. I'm going to need every one of those 5 stars. You can do that before we get into this episode or at the end of it. But based on the length of this episode, you got about an hour or so to do it. So, get it done. And if you want to swan dive into my archives or check out all things South Sharav, there's a website for that. Head over to southsharav.com to check out all of my shows, including the latest episode of My Story with Jalen Celestine, as he shares his freshman year experience at the University of Cal Berkeley as a student athlete. And if you haven't tuned into that one, please do so after this episode. But that one is there as well as everything else that I've recorded or written, which you can check once again on southsharav.com. Once again, that's southsharav.com. I just want to repeat it for you just to make sure you heard it. It's the Ave Podcast with Cal C on South Sharav Radio. Let's do it.
Welcome to the Ave Podcast with Cal C on South Sharav Radio.
Welcome to the Ave Podcast. My first guest is the founder and financial officer of the Carolina Haitian Food Festival and is also the CEO of Burger Divas and the founder of Food with Burger Divas, which airs every Saturday at 9 a.m. on Radio Africa 1804. I want to please welcome Dianna Nicholas to the show. How you doing today?
Hi, Calvin. Thank you for having me.
No problem. I appreciate you for coming back on. And my next guest has been on the show previously. He's an author of a great book called Unleashing Mind Power, How to Harness the Magic of the Subconscious Mind. And he's a trained hypnosis and psychotherapy professional. I want you to please welcome Jonathan Boxill to the show. How you doing today?
I'm doing good, man. Thanks for having us on.
No problem. But like I said, I want to thank the both of you for coming back on the Ave Podcast. And I brought the both of you on today to just discuss what's been happening this past week in Del Rio, Texas, where thousands of Haitians have been at the border just trying to come across to begin a new life and claim refugee status, much like any other migrants across the world. But the conditions of how they're being treated is reprehensible, which includes the images that we've been seeing on the news and social media of U.S. Marshals on horses with whips, trying to control, quote unquote, control the people there, and trying to send them back across the water. And I know this is a deep diving conversation. It's definitely not going to fit into one podcast, but I definitely want to start by asking you guys, what are your reactions from the images from Del Rio, Texas? And I know this is a ladies first situation, but the lady of the program tonight, she's asked for Jonathan to start first, so I'll go with Jonathan first.
Oh, what? Okay, all right. All right, Dianna. No problem. My reaction, and that's what you're asking, right? For my reaction?
Yeah, from the images that you've been seeing this past week.
Obviously disturbing. Obviously it's very strategic. It's trying to capture or suggest to our minds our history, right? And being, under the foot and domination of, of a certain group in a certain country, certain group of countries. So it immediately, guys with cowboy hats and horses. That's never a good look as a black person. You feel it. And I know that that's what a lot of those images are designed to do, is attack us psychologically and take us back there.
Right.
And so that's, I'll speak more about that, but, disturbed, but at the same time, I was more like, all right, so I get what the attack is. How can I counter that?
Okay. And what about you, Diana?
For me, how I felt about that, it was sadness at first because of my country and the people who just want to protect and take care of their families, and then anger because of the treatment they are receiving and the lack of fairness and equality. So it was a numbness. There's so much going on in that country, news after news after news, and then to see, the guys on the horses with the whips, it definitely set a tone of, oh, hell no, this cannot go down this way.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think for myself, I was both like desensitized and appalled by everything. Just because, being desensitized in the last, I would say most of my life, but I would say, definitely the last like 5 to 10 years of seeing everything that's been happening to our black community as a whole in terms of, racial profiling, police brutality, all of these things. And then seeing on top of that what's been happening to Haiti since 2009, like for me it was a little bit desensitizing, but it was also appalled because just of those images of just seeing black people being whipped in 2021, just for that to even be something that's going to reoccur again, it just makes me question everything in terms of who would make that order, to make that be okay for that to even be a thing. And that to be the directive to control a group of people, any people, much less, our hue, right? Like, to me, that's where it's a mixture of both, where I don't even know if it's 60-40, 50-50, but I'm just appalled and have a spirit of just being desensitized by it all. And it's kind of sad to be put in that position, you know what I mean, as time goes along, but that's kind of where I feel with the whole thing. But I just think, to me, it's like, I just think it's really bold. Like, it's super bold to just, there's media, there's cameras, people have cell phones, people have video cameras, and, to be doing that out there, like, to know that that's going to be the image that's going to be projected out to the world, and you're still going to be okay to do that anyway. I just think it's a kind of boldness that's just, it's really off-putting and disgusting. I don't know. I just, it troubles me in that sense, the boldness of it all.
Yeah,
it definitely does. Go ahead, Jonathan.
No, I was just going to say, like, you made a point about about taking pictures and cameras, and they had to know and not give a crap, but they had to know that, yeah, I'm making a statement by doing this, and that statement's going to go around. And I'm also making a statement to the rest of the people that feel the same way as me, right? And images are powerful. Right. And those images will speak louder than a lot of things that, people could say. And that's why I'm really careful with the images that I kind of spend time on them, because they can be so damaging.
Right.
If we dwell on them and not take action to counter them. Mm-hmm. Right? Because those images are designed to attack you, to make you feel powerless. And what you said, desensitize you. Mm-hmm. But I want to hear what you have to say, Diana.
No, I remember when we were talking offline, and we were saying how, like, back in the day, being Haitian was not, like, something that was popular. Right. And, what I don't want to happen is for us to go back to that. what you see right now are people, again, who are trying to be better and do better for their families. That does not, in turn, to put a stigma on the Haitians that are here, that are, trying, again, doing it well, doing what's right, and trying to come up. So the images that they're showing are demoralizing, but I hope it's also like empowering to say, you know what, I want to do more for my community, and my community right now is in turmoil, and they're trying to make it look like we're just these dirty looking people, but we are prideful people, and what we're trying to do is just be better. We want the best life for our families, and that's all we want. So I hope it just continues to reinforce that, like, these are strong people who literally, they were on boats, walking, through many different countries to get all the way to Del Rio, Texas, because of opportunity, the land of opportunity. So I just hope that the message it's a message that we see on TV that doesn't look very, very nice, but what I'm hoping is that it's a message of like, yeah, that's what's happening, but guess what? I'm going to be better, and I'm going to do better for my country.
So you're hoping like the reverse effect happens, where it kind of empowers the youth and it empowers the community instead of taking away the power.
Exactly. Yeah. That's what I'm hoping. Calvin and Jonathan. It's like you guys have been saying, it is desensitizing. So much has been happening since the first earthquake, to my knowledge, and then all the way till present day. It's one of those things where it's like, how many gut punches can you take before you fall down? And what I'm hoping is that we don't fall down. It just makes us stronger.
Yeah, that's a good message. And the fact that you do have to remind people of who you are and the mighty people that you are, right? And the people of creativity and power and the contributions you've made to the world and still do. That's the thing. It's like, can you imagine that, like, they frame people coming into the country for a better life in that way, where America America is a country of people who came over from Europe with nothing. They embraced them with open arms off the ships. You see those old films of Italians and Eastern Europeans. They coming over with nothing, and they were like, "Yeah, sure, come over." But somehow this is framed as, "Oh, they're coming here in some negative way." I don't understand that. It's the same thing that built the damn countries,
right?
And then it's obviously because of who the Haitian people are, what they represent, what they symbolize. In my mind, as a people, they symbolize resistance and the defiance of oppression and taking control of your life and your country and being self-determined. That's what Haitians symbolize. And they're trying to paint the opposite picture, which is so funny. You know what I mean? It makes no sense to me when this is the people who have been self-determined for a long time. You know what I mean? And have been going their own way in the face of oppression, in the face of, basically the world against them and them on their own.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I agree. And not to like put you guys in a politicized situation, but I do have to ask a question. Just your thoughts on like, why do you think the White House is like silent on this issue in terms of trying to get this rectified, or slow to respond to this to respond to this issue that's happening in Del Rio?
Okay, so politically, I'm not the biggest, political person. However, if you look at the history of what all, has transpired with Haiti, one of the things that we've learned is when you take over, when you have the ability to take over and defeat a powerhouse, they will make you pay by taking away food or taking away things that can help your people develop. And, with the history of Haiti, winning their independence and then having to pay back France billions of dollars.
Right.
France and America getting into bed together to make sure that Haiti never succeeds. You know, those things are still happening. Now, it may not be discussed. It may not be something that's in your history books, but if you talk to any Haitian person who truly knows their history, they can tell you this is what's happening and this is why we're not able to succeed. You know, the thought process of divide and conquer and capitalism is alive and well. You know, how do you keep people from succeeding? Well, you take one group of people and let them know, hey, I'm going to make you powerful, and then they then oppress the others, which creates this unequal playing field in a country that was about independence and, hey, we got this for ourselves. The example that I use, you know, granted about politics and policies and everything, is that, you know, one of the things that they do, for example, in the church that I'm a part of, you know, we were bagging rice to send to Guatemala, which is something that is made in their country. How do you take something from the United States and send it to a country that is able to produce this on their own? You take away the cultivation of the land. You take away what made them successful in the first place.
Right.
And to me, those are some of the things that, you know, when you think of like countries like Haiti, countries like Chile, countries, Brazil, well, not really Brazil, but Cuba, countries that sugarcane, like, you know, anything you can think of, rice, things that like we have to pay a lot of money for that is able to come from that country can no longer produce it. What does that tell you? You know, that's it speaks volumes.
The White House, man, to me, the Americans have been consistent in their policies with Haiti. Just like Diana said, when they occupied Haiti, and it was a really oppressive force, and I don't know the exact dates, but it was in this century, you know what I mean? And their policies at that time were the same, have been the same. They have been consistent throughout each presidency.
Yeah.
In my opinion, it's been the same. You're seeing the same stance of, I'm going to come in and take what I want or do what I want, and keep them at the same, try to keep them in the same position. But like, I have a question in my mind, like, what's up with the diaspora, the Caribbean, African countries, and even certain South American countries? How come no one seems to be standing with Haiti in 2022? Is everyone just caught up in their own problems?
No, we do. So Colombia is a major advocate for Haiti. Or Venezuela.
Venezuela, right.
Yeah, Venezuela. So I think what happens is that, again, it's the whole United Nations with, you know, air quotes around it, is not really the United Nations.
Right.
And, you know, like, not to bring it this way, but I always believe that there are things in place that are greater than us, that when it happens, you're like, it's 2021. What the hell? How is this happening? Right. Like, this shouldn't be happening. It's 2021. We've all evolved as a people. However, it's hard to explain, but I feel like there's just things that are bigger than us that is like literally happening in a secret society. I know that sounds crazy, and that's a whole nother show. But you know, it's just something that I think about, because again, it's 2021 and we're having conversations about third world countries. We have third world countries in the United States. You ever go to Detroit? Yeah. You're like, that's the United States of America?
Yeah, yep. It's true.
It's so true.
You know, so, you know, it's those questions that, you know, I think people have to ask themselves, like, yeah, why is it that, you know, you can go to Dominican Republic and they have no issues at all, but you go to Haiti and it's like, you know, WTF situations.
That makes no sense to me. And I've been to Dominican Republic.
And you share the same body of land.
I don't get it.
They say we share the same land. However, if you like, again, listen to the history. There's this gentleman, his name is Ollie Graham, and he's on Instagram, and oh my goodness. So pretty much how the land was divided, again, was more of okay, we're going to choose this side, knowing full well that Haiti side was built on a fault. that does not go through the Dominican Republic.
Oh, that makes sense. Because
You know, yes.
that makes sense.
Go ahead.
I didn't know
it
that.
does.
No,
Yeah. That's why we're always going to have the hurricanes. We're going to have those things because of the way the land is situated, where Dominican Republic doesn't get any of it. Now, I'm not saying that Dominican Republic are, you know, they went and did this. But again, when the land was divided, Hispaniola was divided, it was divided as such, right? So we were already at a loss because of the, you know, granted, I love our little boot, our little left-handed boot. But again, it was still, you know, in a situation, in a location where we were going to be hurt regardless.
Yeah.
So Ali Graham is his name. OLI.GRAM. I mean, when I mean this gentleman, like even to the point where he discusses how Creole came about. And sorry, Calvin, again, a show for another time, how, you know, in French, l'oreille, which is the ear, is l'oreille, right? There's no Z. But for Haitians, it's oreille, right? So to change the language just a little bit so they wouldn't totally understand what we were saying, we added Z to some of our words. I mean, this gentleman, he drops so many gems. I'm like, dude, like, I hope, you know, so definitely check him out. But, you know, again, historically, it's unfortunate what's happening to the country. But again, what I'm hoping is that it's more of an empowerment to the people such as myself who want to better the view of the Haitian community right here, you know, in the United States, and are able to then bring it to Haiti.
And it makes sense because anytime there's like a natural disaster in Haiti, like Dominican Republic never gets affected. It almost never gets affected. You're right. Like I never thought about that until you just said that, actually. But it makes sense. It makes sense.
Yeah.
I mean, for me, the only thing I would add is, like, I know we were talking about this offline, but the fact that, you know, on the watch of the Biden administration, you know, you have the images of this being put out during his watch, and I think it's a bad look because, you know, the black community, you know, let's face it, they definitely helped them ride a wave to get into office, right? And I mean, he even admitted as much, right? And I mean, and look, I mean, there's an example of Georgia being flipped as a state from, you know, being always a red state to changing to a blue state. A lot of that was some of the groundwork that people like Stacey Abrams did to get that state to be flipped, which was like the first time in eons that even happened. And to have this on his watch, like, just the optics of it is terrible. You know what I mean? Like, you can't have, it doesn't matter if they're not American, like, at least not right now, but you can't have the image of that, you know, as a president saying those things that you're saying in November, to have this on your ledger. Like, it's not a good look. You know, I think it
definitely isn't a good look. But what I will say though is that, you know, when people vote, we chose the lesser of two evils, right? We didn't have good options to choose from, right? But what I will say though is that when you vote, make a decision based on policies and what you think, you know, is going to happen. Yeah, his platform was this, but when you look at the Democrats and how many immigrants they actually send back, that's when you got to say to yourself, wait a minute, I'm about to vote democratically for this person who doesn't believe in immigration, who doesn't have the best immigration policy.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like when you think about past presidents, and I don't want to name any names again, I'm not political.
Right.
But, you know, the president before, you know, the guy with the red hat, oh my goodness, he sent more immigrants back than anybody. So it's like one of those things, like, it's like, okay, you know, we're voting for the lesser of two evils, but, you know, you have to make decisions based on what you stand for. Now, don't get me wrong. I'm not going to sit here and tell you that I think that people should be able to come here illegally and never, ever have to, you know, get their papers. I work hard for my money. So you're going to get your papers. You're going to get some numbers so that I can collect my Social Security so that I'm not going to be taking care of you when I'm old. However, there has to be a better policy put in place to protect these people because foreigners are the hardest working people you will ever have to live in your country. So let's be mindful of all of that, and I don't want to go off topic. It's about Haiti and what we're trying to do for Haiti. But you get people who come here and they know they came here for a better life, so they're gonna work hard. So let's make it easy enough for them to be registered, but also fair and equitable for everybody, not just for one particular group of immigrants who come to the United States.
Right, as opposed to another, and then like the image of some of the images that you're seeing too of Haitians being deported and being sent back to Port-au-Prince, like that too is because you're looking at the whole situation of, especially after the earthquake in 2009, and a lot of Haitians migrated out of the country or got displaced, set up new lives in South America and different countries, and now you're coming out here to be sent back to a place that you already lost everything. Like that's like, just like I said again, to have that on your ledger, it's not a good look, man. It's not.
Plus you're already presenting. They're already presenting the image of them being a bastion of freedom for certain Afghanis, and that's part of the conversation that people are having, is the contrast between how they've been treating the Afghani, the asylum seekers, versus the Haitian asylum seekers, right?
Exactly.
And you're escaping two difficult, situations, and so it must be said it's racist, and we know that immigration policies are racist. Like that, like we know that's a fact. Especially, where we're from, they have a point system, and the point system, it's been criticized by so many social scientists on how racist it is. We're not going to get into that, but the point is, they can hide their racism behind their policies, but now to me, these optics or these images are showing you how blatant it is. The slow response, the lack of proper leadership. This is when you need leadership. You just made more sense than than any one of them. And what you just said was very clear on outlining a bit of a plan. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So
I agree with that.
It's clear and blatant. That's the elephant in the room. This is racist. It has nothing to do with protecting their borders. It's racism. It's discrimination, racism. And it's a continuation of the same policies. And that's why my question too was like, I get that Venezuela is standing with Haiti, but to me that's not enough. Like, where's the rest of the Caribbean? Where's the rest of the countries? Like our diaspora. Yeah. Like, where are their voices and their actions?
Make money off of those other countries. Make their money off of travel and tourism. They're not gonna mess that money up. Mm. You can only get to Haiti if you have people there. If you got people who live there and you can go visit. But Labadie, which is a port, when people go, then people be like, "Oh, I've been to Haiti," and you're like, "Oh yeah, where'd you go?" They say Labadie because it's a port, but they don't go truly into Haiti to see what Haiti is like, right? What Port-au-Prince is like, right? Because we know that they don't really show you the real deal of how beautiful the island is. They show you, the bad part,
right? But
travel and tourism and, the rest of the Caribbean world, that's important. They're not going to mess that money up. That's where the capitalism comes into play.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, Haiti, it does not get to play in that, because when you think of Labadie, and I'm not really sure exactly where it is, but if I'm not mistaken, it's close enough to Dominican Republic that it can pass.
Okay.
So, I don't know. I would have to look it up. I'd have to ask my aunt, Monica Mo, about that. But, we just have to be cognizant. The images that we have seen, and Jonathan, I these past couple of days just talking to you, I just love how you just bring it all the way back around, is that the images that we have seen is very, very sad, and no one knows what to do. That's where we are right now. It's like, it's like blow after blow after blow. What can we do? Like, what exactly can we all do? Even if we were to all get together, what can we effectively do to help Haiti without losing money?
That's a great question.
That's it, right? They don't want to lose money. That's it. No. But what? Oh man, it's just a trip to me, because some of these Caribbean islands are a couple steps away from where Haiti is. Like, really?
Yeah.
It just takes one little disaster or a certain couple industries falling, like you said, the tourism industry that they rely on. Like, I mean, really, we're all that we have. And for some reason, I don't know why we still don't see that.
Yeah.
We're still on this separation. Oh, that's them over there.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? I hope that don't happen to us.
Yeah,
It's
that's
like,
the divide and conquer mentality. That book, I mean, when I think about, like, just the divide and conquer, I mean, it's bigger than what's going on, but it is a true way to conquer a country. It's a true way to conquer a people. You know what I mean? Like, it's divide them first, put them against each other, right? Make them feel like one is better than the next.
exactly.
And take over.
That's it right there. Make somebody feel that they're better than the next. Because when people say divide and conquer, sometimes they don't know what that means. So I'm actually glad you explained that in a little bit more detail. You're making one person think that they're better than the next. That's exactly it. And that's the perception that people have about countries like Haiti.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, it's just so silly. Except, I remember we were talking about this as well, except some of the European countries or some of these elites, they come in there and they see the gold and the value. They see the potential. Like I remember we were talking about the artists. It blew my mind on a documentary where they were paying artists thousands of dollars and they were making some intricate art off the steel pan drums. You know, again, that's our genius. We know how to make something out of nothing.
Right.
You know?
Yes.
And then other people value it. Like, they left their countries, come over and pay thousands of dollars for this intricate, amazing art. And you never really hear about it, right? You never hear about that at all. So wherever the people are in Haiti, other people, other countries have vested interest in there and are seeing a goal. Where the hell is our people?
Yeah.
You know? And that's
We're
why
coming.
I hope, man. And that's why I was thinking that we need to, you know, whoever's listening, like, put those memes out there, put those images out there, do your research to counter the images, the negative images that are being, you know, purposely sent out there.
You're right. Like photos, hashtags, even, you know, that I will work to in this day and age now. Like, I think that's something that could add to that as well. Like, just to get the awareness out there. Now it's funny because it kind of leads me to what Diana was saying about, like, you know, your youth in terms of getting into fights and those different things. What do you think are the misconceptions of Haiti?
That we're dirty. We put on too much perfume.
I never heard that one.
I never heard that one.
Oh my goodness!
I just know.
I went to college, and one of my friends at the time. He's no longer a friend, but anyway, he said something to, like, another friend of mine who was Jamaican, and he was saying, "You putting on too much perfume, you're gonna start smelling like them dirty Haitian cab drivers." And it was just kind of like, "What did you say?" And I turned around and I said it to him. I was like, "What did you just say?" I was like, "I'm Haitian, and we're not dirty, and we don't put on that much perfume." Like, what? And you know, he just kind of got quiet, and that was the last time we ever spoke again. I promise you. I was like, I would never speak to him again because one of the things that I wish never happened was how we pit ourselves against each other, right? Like, for him to feel so comfortable to say that, not knowing what anybody was in the room, like, honestly, where have you been living? You're from, like, Newark, New Jersey. You know how many Haitians live out there? That's number one. Number two, you don't even know who is Haitian in this room. And even if you didn't know, don't be disrespectful to a people.
Right.
You know, you just took a whole group of people and you put them against each other. So I think that bothered me a lot.
And they're your own people. You know, like, bro, you just got dropped off at the first stop. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's South your Carolina. Own people. It's your own. It's the same people, and same bloodline.
And you're carrying that stereotype. And who knows if you heard it somewhere? You know, when you was growing up, whatever. But now you're carrying that as something as truth and passing that along. Yeah. You know, to other people to hear, right? Which is simple but serious. Yeah.
So it's just I think to me it's disrespectful. But the perception now, so that was the perception in the past. I think the perception now is how beautiful and exotic we are. And, you know, like if you meet somebody who's Haitian, the first thing is you're gonna ask them is, can you make some Julia John John for me? Can you make some black mushroom rice? You know,
right.
Because people are starting to know the culture. People are starting to know the food, the music, the language. And, you know, granted, Labadie, you know, I'm so grateful for Labadie, but being a port where people stop, that showcases who we are a little bit. Even if it's just for that one little 8-hour time span, it's enough to let people know, like, I've been to Haiti and it's beautiful. So the perception back in the day when I was growing up in the 90s, you know, that was one thing. But today, I literally have a flag on my car on my visor. You couldn't pay me to do that before. And it wasn't because I was embarrassed, but I just felt like if somebody wanted to know where I was from, they can ask me and I would tell them. But I didn't need to broadcast it.
You needed to
now,
promote it.
Please.
What?
Tell me that. Ask me who I am, and I will tell you who I am.
What is it about Haitian people that they have? No matter what people say about them, no matter how they're portrayed negatively. What is it about Haitian people where they carry themselves with such dignity and pride for their country and for their culture? Everywhere I go, I see the same thing. They carry themselves like what Calvin, what you were saying, best dressers. You know what I mean? And what is it about your culture?
Hard. But I think it's because I think it's all of the Caribbean massive, right? Our parents did not leave their country to come somewhere else for us to be bad, right?
Right.
Like we came here to work hard so we can play hard. You know, I remember growing up. So my dad has been here since he was 13 years old, and so you know he kind of went through the whole, like, you know, he went to high school here, he went to college here, and then he was a buyer. He was literally he bought the product for a sneaker store.
Okay.
So when we were growing up, we always had the latest sneakers on. There wasn't a time in my life that I didn't have the latest sneakers on my feet. And that goes for every single cousin, boy and girl in my family. We were always fly. So, you know, I don't know the other thought processes of the images of Haitians, but I know that this Haitian right here was fly. Mm-hmm. And for me, it was because I know my parents worked hard. My mom worked for Saks Fifth Avenue buying office, to the point where now even I'm in the buying office in corporate retail. So it's like one of those things where I know that my parents work hard, too hard for anybody to come, you know, and disrespect us in any way, whether we're buying name brand stuff or we're buying private brand, which is like, you know, the cheap stuff.
Right.
It doesn't matter. They came here to make a living and to provide a life for their family, and damn right we're going to walk with our shoulders straight and back.
So is your family still the sneaker plug? Can I get a Jordan 3s? Sorry, this is the wrong.
You know what? You can. You can. No, you can. So my nephew, Lenny is his name. He started his own sneaker company called Shoe Department Number 5, Shoe Station Department Number 5. And we just started following each other, me and you, Calvin. So I will send you his profile and then link up with him. But he's the plug now.
Talk. This is not even. I shouldn't even be doing this. I'm sorry, but but you know what? It's something that you know, we talked about this offline. You know, and again, I grew up. I'm Trinidadian, of the Trinidadian descent. Both my parents are Trinidadian. You know, I rep that culture hard all day. But, you know, growing up in Montreal, that is a heavy Haitian community over there, you know, and, you know, and I always say, like, for me, Haitians have been and they're always going to be part of my life just based on the friends that I grew up with and continue to have in my life. Right. But, you know, and that's something I would like to break that stereotype, because you would hear, you know, misconceptions of different things back in the day. But, you know, especially when I moved out of Montreal and I would go back and visit. You know, and I was telling both of you this offline. I mean, but some of the best dressers, you know, and this is again, I'm not sure if this is like a vanity thing, but like some of the best dressers, some of the flyest dressers were Haitian. Some of the most expensive stuff back in like the late 90s with all the Helly Hansen and all those different things. It was all like a lot of times it was the Haitian people rocking that. You know, so
right.
So you And then you just realize, as you get old and you start learning about the history, your own Black history and and the Caribbean history and stuff, and you realize a lot of these misconceptions is bullshit. Like you realize a lot of this is nonsense, and that's where it just starts to get stripped away. Because to touch on what you're saying earlier, like it's almost like it has the image of like Africa, of like starving babies with flies around them, and everybody's homeless and destitute. And I know people who vacation in Haiti, that say that the island is beautiful. There's a big party cruise that I think the one before pre-COVID, it was stopping in Haiti. You know what I mean? Like this is like, those are things where you're like, okay, like that's another misconception that's torn down just from little things like that. Those are the misconceptions I see. But it's like, for me, it's like I look at those things and it's like, I think you just have to do the research, and follow up and try to knock down those myths that you grew up with for a lot of things, much less regarding, the Republic of Haiti, I like to say. But like, it's just, I think it's terrible when you look at that aspect of it, like I said, because of where I grew up, I see it different than the average person, I would say, in those situations, because like I know better, right? Like I'm around Haitians a lot, so like I know better. I see it all the time, so I'm like, I know that's not true. But I think that's like one of the things where it has to change. Like those misconceptions it's got to get knocked down.
Yeah.
Sorry, go ahead.
And they will. Mm-hmm. And they will.
Yeah.
Because we don't have a choice. Us young Haitians that are trying to do big things. So I finally, I know we talked about this offline. So I did get the address for the Houston Haitian Bridge Alliance. So I'm gonna try to do something here in North Carolina. Like, there are young people who are trying to change the narrative, and that is what's going to help build the pride even stronger.
Right.
I'm not going to say bring it back, but even stronger. Mm-hmm. And with that being said, it might not be done in Haiti because, unfortunately, it's in turmoil. The country is definitely in turmoil.
Yeah.
But guess what? The young Haitians that are growing up here in the United States, they're gonna pump their fists real high. They're gonna wear their colors. They're gonna wear their flag, and they're gonna know, I can't go back home right now, but guess what? I'm a rep hard for where I am now. That's what we're doing here in North Carolina.
We're gonna make everywhere home, basically.
Exactly.
Yeah. And that's the thing. Like, even going back to the images of what we've been seeing the past week or so, and don't get me wrong, I think it's important that we see those images so that we can like address it immediately, right? But at the same time, it's like it's almost like another chapter of misconceptions being added again, And I mean, we know better. The three of us know better, and I'm sure people listening out there know better as well. But those are the things that, as a Caribbean representative, it annoys me to see that. That it absolutely annoys me to see that.
It's all about changing those narratives, and like we were talking about before, social media is a powerful tool, but sometimes we can fall into the issues of social media where we spread a lot of images, the negative images, but we don't do positive images to counter them.
Right.
So that's my thing, is because that's how the youth are learning. That's what they're into. That's what they're watching. And if we can get these young people to get a different perception in their mind about us and Haiti in particular, then they can use technology to help change that narrative. It's imperative that we do that. We use the resources that we have, because images speak 1,000 words, and sometimes they seal the deal for people more than a talk or a lecture or a hearing, a whole speech on something. That 2-minute flash on social media, that 2-minute image can do something to shift people's narrative about the topic, right?
No, absolutely. What do you guys think needs to be done to help with the issue? Just what do our brothers and sisters in our Caribbean diaspora need to do to help? And it kind of lends to what you were saying earlier, John, about standing beside Haiti. Like, what can we do to help? At least right now, whether it's awareness, whatever it may be, whether it's big or small. Like, what can we do as a Caribbean diaspora? What can we do to help?
Well, I'll say, show love to Haiti right now. Show love to Haitians. I know there are Haitian businesses in your community if you're listening, or online, and get out your comfort zone, get out your box. A lot of times we're tribal people and we only mess with, who we're familiar with. It's time to reach out. Now it's time to actually support.
Yeah.
And as well as support the sister like Dianna, who are actually doing things for her Haitian community. Find out about what she's doing. Get involved how you can get involved, support her and spread the word. That's what I would say.
Okay.
And so, to support what Jonathan is saying, education. My aunt, Mano Como, Florence Bonham Como, she owns Radio Africa 1804. She owns that. That's a platform for us to get that, get our messages out. But with saying that is teaching people about the history of the country.
Yeah.
The second thing is working within your community. We had the first annual Carolina Haitian Food Festival right here in the Carolinas for North and South Carolina. We're a growing community. We have over 2,000 Haitians. We have a Haitian food store that literally has Haitian food. We had a restaurant. The restaurant shut down, but guess what? We got 4 food trucks. We have one more coming in Greensboro, North Carolina, and then I'm working on my own burger food truck that will have Haitian inspired burgers. So, again, supporting the community, like John said. And then, third, last but not least, is working with the youth, the people that are here, or that were kept, and I hate to say it that way, but that didn't have to get deported. Yeah. Making sure that the children, the confidence in the children will be built and not shattered. Okay? Mm-hmm. Yeah, you may not have, those Jordans, but guess what? This education you're about to get, this little love that you're about to get, that's going to help get you to those Jordans. So, children for me are the most important part of any culture. You make sure the children are good, your culture will survive.
The future
so
will be
to
good
me,
too.
you put all those 3 things together, and you're going to succeed. You're going to win. No matter what, you're going to win.
I guess to add to both of you, I think again is education, right? I think even a small way, just as Black people, we got to start educating ourselves to the history of Haiti, how they achieved independence. Because once I think you do that, you really start to strip down the misconceptions. And to touch on, I know we talked about this offline as well, but to touch on something that a conversation me and Jonathan had a couple of weeks back about just the concept of balance. There's a lot of negative images and negative portrayals, that's tipping the seesaw in the other direction. But, there's a lot of positive, and there's a lot of positive from images, culture, music, lifestyle, art, history. You know what I mean? That's on the other side of that seesaw. And we got to get it to a proper balance, and maybe have it tip the other way, even the other way to overdo what's been happening. Right. So, so I think that's like the big thing as well, just to add to what you guys are saying, just in terms of just education. Like that's just the genesis of it, right? Like if you start from there, you can go to a good place, a great place even. And I guess I kind of want to like end on a positive note a little bit, but I do want to talk about the Fugees coming back together a little bit. And the reason why I want to bring them up is because, again, to counteract this balance, right? It's funny that in the same week of all these images of what's happening in Del Rio, in New York City, a legendary hip hop group that's Haitian based is coming back together, forming like Voltron, and for lack of a better word, and coming back to the top of the mountain where they used to be. Right. So it's interesting that this is happening at the same time. I don't think, they say it's a coincidence, but I don't think that's a coincidence. I think that was kind of meant to happen. So I'm interested to see, of course, growing up, like when they were back in 96, when I was a late teen and loving everything that they're doing. I think the 3 of us are all major fans of them. But I think seeing what they do with this platform is going to be interesting, because already, seeing little clips of their concert that they had this past week in New York, Wyclef is already calling out Biden to do presidential pardons, like take out that pen, and save these refugees that's happening in Del Rio. And he was cursing off the cowboys. I think his statement was like, everybody wants to be a wild cowboy. And he's like, and to those cowboys that are out there, using their whips on my people, he's like, I hope you guys, and this is pretty much verbatim, but he's like, I hope you guys die. So you see like that rebel spirit coming out already just from the first show. So it's interesting to see, where this kind of goes from there, but I want to get your thoughts on it a little bit, from that aspect.
It's very exciting. I'm very happy that they're coming back together. They're putting on shows. I just hope Lauren is not going to be late. I hope she got all her stuff situated.
Mm-hmm.
So it's exciting. I mean, the score was, it goes down in history as like one of the best albums. So it'll be awesome if they like really, really like get together and, travel. And I mean, oh my gosh, just the amount of attention that they're going to get just from this little bit. So it's exciting.
Yeah, because I think they're already going to do a mini tour to take them towards the end of the year. So we got to see.
I just hope they come to Charlotte.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I know they're coming to Florida, so that might be close to you. Close enough anyway. But
exactly.
But it's interesting because I want to see what they do with this platform, and I want to see if, because they were unapologetically Haitian, I want to see if that energy trickles down to the next generation, you know what I mean, of entertainers and rappers that wear that on their chest as well, because there are a lot of West Indian rappers and singers and stuff that we don't know about. You Google them and you find out, hey, this person is St. Lucian, this person is Jamaican. How come I'm only hearing about this now? And I mean, I don't know some of the rappers' names, but I know there's a few of them that are Haitian, that are out there, and you never know unless you do a Google search.
There's a couple of Haitian people who are producing. I mean, this is Rihanna. She uses him all the time, and he's literally on Instagram at Sac Passe, Kodak Black. There's a ton of Haitians, right. And not only that, even in the NFL, the NBA, MLB, there's a ton of Haitians. So, the Haitian community doesn't just stop at. It's big. It's bigger than we think it is.
Yeah.
It just so happens that, like I said in the beginning, I'm so happy that Wyclef is coming back. But I think Wyclef found some stuff out when he was running for president. It kind of made him feel a certain way. What happened in Texas was disrespectful, but he knows some things now. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So I think there's only so many gut punches a person, an individual, right? Because we are all individuals, and how we accept information is different for everybody. But there's only so much that a person could take about their culture, where after a while they're like, well, listen, I can't control any of it. I can't do nothing. There's so much happening. I don't even know where to start.
Yeah.
So I'm happy that the Fugees are back, and I hope that Wyclef is able to like really, really make some really big noise to get a lot of people's attention. But there's only so much he's going to be able to do.
Right.
Yeah, for sure.
Mm-hmm.
For sure. And I think, to apply that pressure, on them as well, it's a little hard to do, especially because they're musicians, but it's at the same time, it's, and I know I said this offline, but to me, they're the Haitian Avengers, right? They got a Haitian Avenger, like, superhero feel about them. They've always had that about them. And it's kind of hard to shake that. Even if it's a little bit of responsibility, it's hard to shake that in the light of what's going on as well. So you can't expect them to overflip everything for them, because they're not politicians and they're not setting laws. But it's just that, for them to do their part and be great, I think that's like the biggest thing as well.
Absolutely. I agree 100%. And for me, just seeing the image of them coming together, because they represent Haitian excellence. I think that's what people need to see to counteract. I mean, I know I keep repeating that, but the mind loves repetition, because they keep repeating to us negative. So guess what? We got to keep repeating and showing the world out there the truth. And the truth is, this is who we are as a people, right? Yeah. Excellence excellence. This is who we are. Creative geniuses that, inspire the world, and create something out of nothing. We're not what they're trying to frame us as. So it's interesting you brought that up, Calvin, because like they're trying to show a negative thing here, but then organically something pops up on the opposite side to show, yeah, nice try. This is who we really are. You remember this? You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And so I feel like, yeah, just that as a symbol is huge, and just supporting and backing them and getting the youth, like you were saying, Diana, the youth, it's all about the youth to see those images. Because a lot of these youth, that wasn't their era.
Yeah.
Kodak Black could be their era, which is cool, but now it's like, well, before him, these were the geniuses here. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And
look at where
this
they
is some
took it.
excellence.
Yeah.
Yeah, and this is some excellence right here, so they can get curious about that and feel good and put their chest out and stand tall and be like, "Oh, this is who we are,"
No, absolutely.
And we got so many Haitians. Force MD, one of the guys in there was Haitian. I mean, it's crazy when you just sit down and like look at like how much. I mean, Jean-Michel Basquiat. I mean, Jay-Z, his hair is like literally Jean-Michel Basquiat.
One of his biggest clients,
I mean,
right? Yeah.
Our influence, it runs the gamut. They just want to show you the bad, but it's okay though because we know that we better than that.
Oh yeah, in fashion, come on now, isn't there a designer?
Terry Moss.
Yeah, come on now. You already know.
Come on now.
Yeah.
Listen, Azadeh, Jean-Pierre. Listen, I could do this all day.
You already know, but we have to do it all day. You know what I'm saying? Like, we have to let other people take up the mantle and keep this up and keep pushing this positive narrative to tell the truth of our people. This is
like
who we are.
This is who we are. It's funny, like people at work are always like, "Oh, Diana, I heard what happened in Haiti. Is your family okay?" My family is good.
Mm-hmm.
My family is good. Oh, how do you feel? How's everything going? I'm like, everything is good. We're figuring it out. We're trying to get all our thoughts together, and we're going to make some changes. We're going to send some help. Like, I'm not going to let what you see on TV come and give me the side story. No, I'm not going to be sad with you. I'm going to show you that it's affecting me differently than you think it's supposed to affect me.
Absolutely. And I guess for me, like, I'll say this, like, the community of Haiti, they have, I want to say, like, an energy that, it was strong enough to fight for independence. That is in your DNA. You know what I mean? So I think you just got to keep showing them these ways and just how they're some of the strongest people. Like, as long as those things keep happening where you're embracing the culture, you're embracing the history, you'll continue to see that. I sound like an infomercial, but it's the truth. Like that's the truth of it all, right?
And I just want to say one thing. I don't want to, like, we're talking about positive things, but I want people to think like this whole pandemic thing should have showed people how things can switch up like that.
Exactly.
And for example, Haitian people and people who've gone through struggle and have gone through, it's all great when you're on top and you're in privilege, right? Mm-hmm. But what happens when you got to go through some stuff or lose some stuff? You know what I'm saying? You see people's character really come out and who they are. And the fact that Haitian people have been able to endure so much and still rise. It's like Tupac, it's like still I rise. I always love that line because it's like, come on now. We're still here.
Mm-hmm.
They're still here. And a lot of people can't say that because a lot of people have lived off privilege. It's always been them over there. But anything can happen, especially to those of privilege, right?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And so you can learn from people who have gone through stuff. You can learn through people who have endured.
That's a great point.
And we're able to come out of that, And so I always love being around that spirit and that energy, and great things can come out of that.
No, that's an excellent point. And I guess we'll wrap it up here. But before we go, I definitely want to give the both of you, a couple of minutes to just plug any and everything that you want to plug. I want to give you like a couple of minutes or whatever, however long you want to take to just plug whatever it is that you got going on. And I'm going to start with, ladies first of this podcast. I'm going to start with Dianna first to let the people know what it is you got going on and where they can find your stuff. Tell us a little bit more about the festival. I'm going to step away from the mic for like literally a minute while I sip this water, and you can just let loose.
Well, first, I just want to say thank you so much for having me on your podcast, on your platform.
No problem.
Definitely, I appreciate it, not just because, you're bringing light to, my culture, but because this is not your culture and you want to learn more about it. And that warms my heart tremendously. So I just want to say thank you to that. And then Jonathan, you are we need to talk offline because you're amazing.
Thank you.
As for me, you can find me on social media platforms under Burger Divas. So BurgerDivas. I have a burger blog. You can also find me on www.burgerdivas.com. And then for the Carolina Haitian Food Festival, that's going to be under NC Haitian Food Fest on Instagram as well. And then for my radio show that I host every Saturday morning at 9 a.m. starting back on October 2nd, you can find me on Food Talk with Burger Diva. And that will be on Radio Africa 1804. It's a free app. Download the app, and you can listen to me every Saturday morning at 9 a.m. And I'm going to try to replay it every Wednesday at 8 p.m.
Okay, boom. There you go.
Awesome.
And what about you, Jonathan?
All right. Well, it was a pleasure. Thank you so much as well, Calvin, for thinking of me and introducing me to Dianna as well. I'm definitely going to check out her food and waiting for her products to come out, and I can order some, hopefully you ship, out around the world. And because, we love to eat over here and we love Haitian food. What I do is right now my focus is on people's well-being and their mind. I think we need that right now. So check out my website, centeredandaware.com. I've got digital programs, meditations, for all kind of different things, whether it be boosters for the morning, evening, and night, whether it be healing your inner child or motivation, or I got a whole bunch of stuff coming. I do coaching. I do corporate stuff as well. And that's what I do right now. And I come on podcasts with great people and have fun while getting down to business.
No, for sure. That's
like that, Calvin?
That's all about. Yeah, I do. I like that. Thank you. The tattoo that on my shoulder. Thank you. I
did my best, man. I did my best.
And we got to definitely, go to this festival and have a little bit of that, I'm going to butcher this name again. Barbacoa? Barbacoa, the rum.
Yeah, Barbacoa.
Did I butcher it? Did I butcher it?
You know what? You did good. You did good.
You did good, Cal. She's being nice.
I'm close enough. I'm close enough.
You're being nice.
I'm sorry in advance.
You were close.
I'm sorry in advance. But I I like that rum, so that's why I'm trying to shout it out. But yeah, no, we
hopefully we can get them for the next food festival. This food festival we had on Labor Day weekend, and we were able to showcase the Ave 1804 rum, which is also a Haitian-owned rum, accompanied by young men such as yourselves. So it's very exciting, and let me tell you, it was good. It was very, very good.
Yeah, and I like representing rums of all the Caribbean countries. So
I'm gonna check that out.
I'm definitely gonna check that out for real, for sure.
One thing I know about Haitians, they make quality stuff. They're very picky. Man. They're very picky. Yeah, it's got to be some high end, stuff.
It's our ippies and our pickles. I think that's what makes the food taste slightly different than Jamaican food, than any other Caribbean food. Let me put it that way. It's the ippies and then the pickles. But Trinidadian food, I'm sorry, roti is Guyanese. You guys, I know Trini food.
Like I said, you be careful over there. Oh boy.
Don't let roti come off the top rope, Dianna. Do not let roti come off the top rope, flipping like The Rock back in the 90s. I'm telling you.
I want you to do my show. So you can tell me about Trinidadian food.
I may have to do that.
Yes.
I may have.
You
to
need
do
to let
that.
people know. No one knows
oh.
about Trinidadian food, honestly.
That's in Charlotte. That might be in Charlotte, right?
Dude, I went to a Trinidadian restaurant in New York, and I promise you, I was like, what? Like, it was tamarind. It was cooked with a lot of tamarind.
Oh no. I definitely have to come with a couple of cooks and just break it down from roti to, oh my gosh, doubles, tamarind balls.
Their palau is good. Their palau is some dope stuff. Callaloo. Their callaloo, I'll be honest with you, the callaloo shines is nice. You know what I'm saying? And their
Have you had Haitian callaloo?
Oh, stop! I haven't. That just sounds good, though. That just sounds good.
Oh, this.
I need both of you guys on my show. Let's aim for the end of October if you guys are available. You know, we could go at it about food. Tell me what is good St. Lucian food.
A West Indian food war. It's imagine we're wrapping up this podcast having a West Indian food war. We're supposed to be uniting, y'all. We're supposed to be coming together and bringing these cultures together. Instead, we fighting.
Well, you know what it is.
It's a different story with food. Food is different.
Oh.
You know?
It's true. We all wear our coat of arms for that one. Thank you for the both of you for coming on this podcast and having this topic with me and sharing your thoughts and feelings about Del Rio and just the whole culture of Haiti as a whole. I'd love to thank you guys for coming on. This has been a pleasure.
No problem, man. Thank you.
Thank you for tuning in to the Ave Podcast. And special shout out goes out to Dianna Nicholas and Jonathan Boxill for coming on my show today to discuss what's happening with the Haitian migrants in Del Rio, Texas, and also to discuss Haiti overall as a community, their history, all of it. And I hope you enjoyed this convo as much as we did. Once again, you can check out Food d'Etat with Burger Divas on the Radio Africa 1804 app. Google and download that app right now, all right? Thanks again for checking out the Ave Podcast. As always, I'll be back with a new episode on Monday, which you can check out on the exact place you're listening to right now. But you can also check it out on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, TuneIn, and Alexa, Stitcher, Google Podcasts, and everywhere else podcast shows are being played on. Hit the like button, the favorite button, and check out SouthShoreAve.com for all of my past shows. Once again, that's SouthShoreAve.com. For Dianna Nicholas and Jonathan Boxill, this is Cal C. And you just tuned in to the Ave Podcast on South Shore Ave Radio. All right, until Monday, folks, peace. We out. Have a great weekend.